Friday.
Gotcha. What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Outside Shots with my man, Eddie Johnson. I'm Saul Bookman. We're brought to you by the best edible in the game, OGs. Get yours today. Also, tune into my guy every day from 2 to 5 this week, but next week it'll be back to 1 to 4 on for his NBA Today show on Sirius XM NBA
Radio.
There we go.
We
went over that a couple times before we started.
I mean,
so,
you don't have to. I can do it myself.
well, I mean, then, you should have stepped up. But, I'm just trying to take the lead. Anyway, my man EJ says it's my fault that Kevin Durant is injured. I do not agree with that because I had nothing to do with it, obviously. What was did you go to the game last night? I know you weren't on the call, but did you go?
Yeah, I went to the game.
And what was the vibe in the arena once everybody figured out that he was not playing?
There was no vibe, really. I think a lot of people didn't know. I'm sure it started to travel, people on Twitter and all of that. But Bob Atlock and I were sitting down there, obviously in the Suns broadcast department. Bob Atlock, my boss, guy that makes me look good. We were down there talking, and then all of a sudden he said, "Oh, my." And I'm like, okay. I'm thinking it's something national, right? I'm thinking something happened.
Yeah.
And then he said, KD's not playing. And I was like, uh-oh. And then they said that. So, yeah, once people started to find out, obviously starting lineup and not seeing him out there, they knew something was wrong. But Devin pretty much made him happy, right? It's sort of like you buy a ticket to go to a game, and you get disappointed because your favorite player is not playing in this analytic world of load management. But then something happens in the game that makes you walk away and feel a little okay about it. Right?
a little okay.
And what Devin did last night made people feel a little bit okay.
The way I felt about it was more, I think Vince Marotta said it best. It's like you got a present for Christmas or your birthday. It's all nice and nicely wrapped. It has a nice bow on it. You start to pull it off, start to open it up, and then there's a note in there saying your gift is on its way because it didn't come in time, right?
Right.
It's like, so all these people anxiously awaiting for KD to play at home, and it's just, oh man, it's just very, very disappointing. I feel bad for the fans that paid a lot of money to try and go out there, especially the ones that, hey, there was a lot of ticket prices are kind of expensive right now. So to buy even an upper level ticket, I think you're looking in the $200 range. So if you take your family, that you're paying about $1,000 to go watch somebody like KD perform, and it's just really really sad to see him not be able to play. But as you said, Devin Booker was phenomenal last night. Now let's talk about ankle injuries, all right? Because that's what everybody's going to want to know. That's what everybody's going to talk about. Now, my experience from an ankle injury, watching KD twist his ankle, but then still finish up warm-ups, still jumped off that foot one-legged, did a little floaters, did different things, moved. He seemed like he moved pretty good considering he might have just sprained his ankle. And now I know a little of adrenaline might have kicked in or what have you, but still, like, I feel like that's a positive sign because if it was a bad ankle sprain, highly doubt he would have done that.
Right.
So what's your take on that?
No, I agree. They probably had to carry him off or he limped off. That didn't happen. He stayed out there. I think, for me, and I'm just going to speak for me, it would probably been a little bit of an embarrassment factor for me. Like, I wouldn't have wanted to be carried off. I wouldn't have wanted to limp off, and I was going to stay out there and see if I can fight my way through it.
Yeah.
But that's just the kind of player that he is, and he's an old school type guy, and so I expected that from him. But that is a good thing that he stayed out there and he was still able to jump off of it. And that told me that, yeah, he hurt it, but, it's not as bad as it could have been. But also, this morning is going to tell a story.
Yeah.
Like this morning when everything is settled and he slept on it and obviously elevated it. Obviously, he had that machinery. They got so much high-tech stuff to put on your injuries players take home with them. I think today is going to tell a story. How much weight he can put on it, how much swelling he has, and all of that. And so the good thing for him is he still probably has a lot of medication in him from his knee injury, and he's developed a lot of antibodies to go attack that injury because he's been injured before, that he still got enough warriors in there to go fight. And I truly believe that. And so, for me, it's unfortunate, but you got to move on. And you got to be proactive. You got to know things like this is going to happen. It's unfortunate, though, that it happened to KD. But we saw a good sample size of 3 games, how good he can be with this team. And now it's up for this team to continue to play, win games, try to move up into the standings, and be there in a good stead when he comes back. And he will be back. So this is not something that's going to be a season-ending sort of thing. He will be back.
Three pretty tough games coming up before they hit their Orlando Magic back at home next Thursday, which you can come to if you knew about our little takeover. But they start off with the Kings on Saturday, then they got the Warriors and the Bucks, and a brutal back-to-back Monday, Tuesday. Thanks NBA for that one. What do you think the Suns are going to do in his absence to try and prepare for when he does inevitably come back? Is this just a situation of KD can fit into anything, or are we going to start to see? We've already seen some tested lineups from Monty. Are we just going to continue to see more of that?
Well, I think you'll see guys get an opportunity to play. Maybe T.J. Warren now will be called upon to play, and so. Now, guys have to step up again. That's why you always have to stay prepared and ready. Like, you can never take for granted that you're not going to play. Like, T.J. Warren probably has been sitting down there wondering if Monty is going to really give him an opportunity to the level that he would want. And now, all of a sudden, KD goes down. Now he's probably going to get that opportunity. And so you have to keep yourself prepared to be able to make that jump. And don't give in to the prevailing thought, oh, that's why he wasn't playing him. You want to make sure that you want to make him look bad and say, oh, he should have been playing him. That's the mentality that players have and coaches want you to have. So, for me, Suns are still talented enough. Still got Devin, Chris Paul, and DeAndre Ayton, okay? They still should be able to go out there and win games. That's not an issue. The issue is staying healthy. And those 3 haven't been healthy and consistently together all year. Now they are. Let's see if they can stay together and galvanize the rest of this group to be able to continue to win games. They put themselves in a great position. It's amazing to think that the Suns potentially can win 50 games.
Yeah.
After the start to the season that they had. So I think it's great.
I agree. I think Terrence Ross is going to have a big role to play as well because he's been phenomenal this season. Last night he was phenomenal, I should say. And we apologize if you guys are having some technical difficulties. I'm not sure what's going on. It doesn't seem like we have any issues, but we'll check it out here in a second. What I will say is also, before KD got injured, the Dallas Mavericks, the Suns, obviously was something that was a rivalry. Obviously, that's budding, and I think everybody else is figuring that out. Good, Emma? We good on the audio?
I think so.
Okay. All right. Okay. That rivalry is taking another level, obviously, with Devin Booker and Luka, but KD's thrown into the fold now, along with the Kyrie drama. It looks like it's one of those top tier rivalries that everybody's going to start to pay attention to nationally from now on. But there's also another little part to this rivalry that maybe we didn't realize, Emma, right? In the form of Nick Wright versus Eddie Johnson.
Eddie Johnson? Can I tell you what Eddie Johnson said to me?
Eddie Johnson say.
So Eddie Johnson is a former Suns player, really good NBA player who's now on the color commentary for their games. I tweeted, Devin Booker talking trash to Luka is absolutely hilarious. Eddie Johnson, who just won't leave me alone, tweeted, that happened a year ago. Just like you didn't have hair a year ago. Funny how that happens.
I mean, Listen, Nick Wright has definitely been a huge Luka stan the entire time he's been in the league. So Eddie, what would you like to say to fellow Nick Wright?
Listen, if Nick Wright, and he's a smart guy, I just gave him an analogy. That's all. I didn't say his hair looked bad. Did I?
No. Just said he was bald a year ago. And things change.
And things change. Yeah. And that's basically what I was telling him. Why are you worried about what happened last damn year, man? Like, okay, last year a lot of things went wrong that I didn't like, but I corrected it this year. Why are you holding on to what happened last season? It's only one team won a championship last year. Mm-hmm. The Golden State Warriors. That's it. Okay? They sent Luka home, okay, after he beat the Suns. So is that their championship? Because if that's the case, I won 4. I went to 4 Western Conference Finals. So I should just jump around and say, you know what? I won a title. I beat the LA Lakers, Magic Johnson, right? I beat him 4-1 in the series. I should be still holding on to that. Come on, man. That's all I was telling the guy. It's like, why did you even go there? Okay, like the Suns beat the Mavericks. There's trash talk all game long. He wouldn't know that because he's never with his boots on the ground at a game. He's always in a studio, hiding, talking about the game. All right? Why don't you get in your car, drive to a game, be around players, and then you'll know what I'm talking about. Trash talk goes on all the time. Devin Booker's one of the biggest trash talkers in the league. He's not quiet all the time, but all of a sudden he wants to say, oh, you're going to talk because you ahead. That's not Devin. Devin talks junk all the time.
Is that an invite? Did you just invite Nick Wright to come watch
He
the
won't
game
show.
here?
Look, he, Water Pistol Pete, Skip Bayless, my co-host on the radio show, they never got boots on the ground. Like, they never at the games, but they want to, like, debate me. Like, and I have my ear to the grindstone. I'm hearing things. I'm there. I'm right there, Mm-hmm. I mean, it's something to say when you can, like, Chris Broussard's at the game. Michael Wilbon's at the game.
Okay.
Stephen A. Smith at the game. They're confronting what they're talking about in the studio. They're not hiding in the studio and getting on guys and critiquing them, but they can't be seen so the guy can counter them and maybe go back at him.
Okay.
So that's my point. So get your boots on, get in your car, and I know you got a nice one. You've been stealing for a while in TV, Nick. Okay, good for you. Okay? But your hair did grow quite quickly. All right? And that's a good thing. Nothing wrong with it. I'm 63. I still got my hair. Nick, I don't have to get whatever's going on with you.
All right. Well, I wanted to give you that opportunity to kind of rebuttal what he.
Man, look, water boys, couch potatoes. That's what I always look. And Nick Wright knows the game, so don't get me wrong. Nick Wright, he's not a water boy and he's not a couch potato. Water Pistol Pete, Skip Bayless is not a water boy and a couch potato. They know the game. They study the game. Okay, my co-host, he knows the game. He's not a water boy and a co-host. I mean, and a couch potato. Yeah. All right? They know the game. But when they had those little takes, man, don't go at somebody, man. It got nothing to do with basketball. That's why I went at him.
Okay.
Because it had nothing to do with basketball. It had something to do with him wanting to rub it in what Luka did last year to the Phoenix Suns. Luka doesn't even remember what happened last year.
Maybe we needed a little bit of OGs just to calm everybody down a little bit. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're missing out on the best edible in the game, the best edible in the Valley for sure. And you can get yours at any dispensary. They got that new Happy Balance gummy, which is a strawberries and cream flavor. And it's a 1-to-1 CBD THC ratio, which kind of calms your aches and pains, and it also calms you down. So it puts you in a nice state of mind, makes you feel pretty good, so you can relax at home after all day talking shit. So check them out at any dispensary. Just remember, you must be 21 or over to enjoy, and enjoy responsibly. Okay, so this is the part that I really want to talk about. All season long, there has been I can't remember another time in sports where the referees have had so much drama amongst them, from the players to the refs themselves, a lot of things going back and forth. And it feels like last night it kind of came to a head because Fred VanVleet of the Toronto Raptors let it loose.
Definitely in the third quarter there. I mean, I don't mind. I'll take a fine. I don't really care. I thought, Ben Taylor was fucking terrible tonight. I thought that most nights, a couple of the, out of the three, there's one or two that just fucked the game up, and it's been like that a couple games in a row. Denver was tough, obviously. You come out tonight, you're competing pretty hard. The third quarter, I get a bullshit tech, changes the whole dynamic of the game, changes the whole flow of the game. And, most of the refs are trying hard. I like a lot of the refs are trying hard. They're pretty fair. They communicate well. And then you got the other ones who just want to be dicks and just kind of fucks the game up. Nobody's coming to see that shit. They come to see the players. And I think we're losing a little bit of the fabric of what the NBA is and was. And it's been disappointing this season. You could look up most of my texts this year have been with Ben Taylor officiating. So at a certain point as a player, you feel it's personal. And it's never a good place to be. That's not why we lost tonight. We got outplayed. But it definitely makes it tougher to overcome.
Yo. Hey, nobody could ever doubt that Fred VanVleet isn't about to get his money's worth because that money's coming. That fine is coming. And he knew it too, and he let it loose. Watching some of these games this year, watching some of the texts specifically that have been issued out to some of the NBA players across the league, superstars, little ticky-tack, what I like to call rabbit ears by the refs, right? You're listening too much. Like, ignore it and keep just reffing the game. Man, I feel like Fred is speaking facts right now. What say you?
Can you imagine Fred talking to his kid? I mean, he was smooth. I never heard a guy curse. It was smooth. I mean, he was just straight up smooth with it. Yeah. It didn't change. There was no higher level to it. He's just straight in. I mean, can you imagine him his kids get in trouble and they sit down and he's sitting in his office and he's talking to them? He's going to get it.
Yeah, he is.
He's going to get it a multitude of ways.
Yeah.
That was a mistake. It was a total mistake by Fred VanVleet.
Really? You think so?
Total. He's going to pay a price.
I mean, but that there's a threshold that players can only take so much before they just cry. Oh. The scary thing about this thing, right? The reason why I feel like Fred was on another level and why he was justified to do this, it didn't seem like he spoke out of anger, visually, no anger. He wasn't emotional about it.
Part. I mean, you watch The Godfather.
Hey.
You watch Al Pacino go up to his brother and say,
hey.
Kiss him. He kissed him and killed him. Took him out on a boat.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. No, look.
He was smooth with it.
He's going to get it.
Yeah, I know he is.
He's got issues coming, and it's twofold. One, from the league, and the fine will be the fine. I mean, Fred has made a ton of money, and he knows he's going to get fined. That's not where it's going to happen. It's going to happen with the officials. Those officials have families. They're human. They have feelings. The wrong thing to do is call them out on Front Street. You can, look, I've cursed officials out on the court between both of us. I would go up to Joey Crawford and say, you know what, you freaking terrible, ugly mother. Seriously.
Okay.
But it was he and I.
Yeah. For sure.
He'll look at me and he'll say, I don't care what you say.
Yeah.
He didn't give me a tech. It was he and I.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the crowd. It wasn't other players. It was he and I. Man,
sure.
Mano.
Sure.
They're good with that. It's when you, after a call, you're running over there and you're in their face and you're doing all that. That's when they have an issue. And a lot of players in today's game, they don't know how to be a politician when they go complain. You don't immediately go over there to the official. You wait. Wait till the first free throw goes. Then you walk over. Lean over. Don't bring it in. Don't be all like this. Just say, hey, man, you blew that call, man. You know, you ain't good tonight. They might not give you a tag. And so.
But that's where I disagree.
What Fred did?
Mm-hmm. But Eddie, I'm telling you, this sounds like this is not the first instance that this has happened, obviously. Yep. He's talking about that particular ref. And it sounds like he has had those conversations with this guy before. And still it has led to nothing but problems. Like, I think there's a correct discourse that I think the veteran officials understand and appreciate. And I agree with you. When you start to get demonstrative in front, you're putting the referee on the spot. And when you do that, you got to be able to deal with the ramifications of that. Mm-hmm. However, I think there's been other things that have led up to this point, because this isn't the first time that this has ever happened to Fred VanVleet. Obviously, he mentioned multiple instances this season alone. So I think, I don't know, man. I'm on his side about this. Like, I know the league's going to come down hard on him, but I've seen some silly ass texts this year in the NBA.
But you've also seen players crying about everything.
Yes.
You've seen players in officials' face from the moment the game starts, challenging them consistently. What people don't understand is officials aren't totally spontaneous. They will warn you before they call a foul.
Sometimes.
No, you don't hear it. You don't hear it. They'll say, hey, man, stop grabbing. You don't hear that. Only the players hear it. Stop grabbing them. Let them go. Stop. Get out of the lane. You know, they will give you warnings, okay? We don't hear that on television or at the games. They think the officials are just definitive. Like they just call the call. No. They let guys know. Leave the ball alone on delay of games. Knowing it was kind of teetering on the edge whether if he did it or not. They will let you know, hey, calm down or you're going to get a tech. Okay, that's it. That's it. I'm done. That means you're going to get a tech. They let you know. Officials aren't perfect, but they're the best officials in professional sports because they have to make a spontaneous call. Football's delayed, hockey's delayed, baseball's delayed. Basketball is spontaneous. If you don't make the call, the ball's going the other direction. And it's very difficult. And I think our officials in our association are the best. Yes, some of them will get ticked off. Some of them might not like players. Without a doubt, they're human. If I was an official, I wouldn't like Draymond.
Yeah.
It's some officials don't like Chris Paul.
Sure.
So, that's a natural thing. But for him to curse him out like that on national airwaves, that doesn't carry well for Fred. Like, they're not going to just not give Fred calls, but he's not going to get the benefit of the doubt. You got to be careful, man. You got to be careful, man, with officials, man. You do.
I agree with you. But at the same time, I do feel like the officials, listen, the officials never have to account for what they do outside of the NBA report that comes out a day later after it's already cost a team a W, right? Like that is a known fact.
Right.
Sometimes
officials do get fined. They get fined for making bad calls. It's just not announced. Go ahead.
Gotcha. But it should be.
No.
But why?
I don't know. I'll go with you on the other thing. I just don't think the report should go out. Yeah, but I don't think it should be announced that officials get fined. I don't.
But
because they have to officiate the game, man. And if they get fined, they'll show up to the next game, and fans in the crowd are going to be reminding them that they got fined. Okay. They have to call the game, man. They can't be caught up. People can't be caught up in them being disciplined and all that. The league has come out. They came out, I think, a couple of weeks ago and said officials get fined. So as a fan, officials get fined. So it's pretty obvious if an official makes a wrong call or doesn't make a call and they put it out on a report, that particular officiating crew probably got fined.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not going to call out the official individually, and I don't think they should.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Also, just a reminder, just like Dikembe Mutombo, if you come with that weak shit, we will block your ass. And that's exactly what happened to a fellow spammer by the name of Bronx in our chat. We blocked. Hey, you can come back next week, but you got to come correct. Like, you just can't be spamming the chat with Miami Heat bullshit the whole time. Come on now.
Heat culture.
Yeah. Stop. Like, the Heat culture didn't even exist until LeBron got there. Stop.
Did they lose last night? I don't even know.
I don't even know. Who pays attention to the Miami Heat?
They did lose last night. I mean, that's Heat culture, though, right? Like, they lost last night, and he's in here creating problems.
They lost by 4 to the
I mean, they're bordering on the play-in, and he's in here creating problems.
Yeah.
That's why I say it's certain fan bases I can't stand. I don't like the Heat fan base. I like the Pelican fan base, even though they got mad at me because I said they use an echo machine, but I do like their fan base because David Griffin, Willie Green loved them to death down there, and I love a lot of their players. So it's Heat. The Atlanta Hawk fan base, they're kind of up and down with me. Okay. They're really soft. But the two fan bases I can't stand is Golden State, and those are the ones that don't go to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Not the ones that go to the game. Because I interact with Golden State fans at the game, very nice people.
Yeah.
The ones that just on Twitter and they just don't want to go pay for a ticket. And then the Dallas Mavericks. Dallas Mavericks #1. Their fans are a joke. They're a joke, man. They're a joke. That's why your Cowboys keep losing.
Oh, man. See, that's a different sport, though. You can't go there. Because you know how it is. Not everybody's the same a fan of the same team.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. They all the same.
I actually happen to like the Dallas Maverick fans because they jumped in our chat last year in that 7-game series, and a majority of them stuck around because they enjoyed our show, Eddie, and they don't have anything as cool as this in Dallas. So, hey, we appreciate
that's
the support.
The ones that try to torment me on Twitter, I don't like.
I feel you. In all seriousness, obviously with the referees specifically, I do think the level of performance from the officials needs to improve. I don't think it has been as good as it has been in the past. And I also think one of the things...
So whose fault is that? Like, the rules have changed. You can't touch anybody. They fall down. They say you in their space. They have to make the call. A lot of officials don't like that. Like, you go up and shoot a jumper. Let me see a jumper. Let me see a jumper. Before, when I used to play, that was legal.
Oh.
When I used to go up and shoot a jumper, what else was legal? Guy can punch me in the stomach.
Oh, really?
Yes. I can go up. He can have his hand attached to my hip and kind of move me off rhythm.
Sure.
All those things were legal.
Okay.
They never called that foul.
Okay.
Now these guys get it if somebody breathe on them.
Yeah.
And they're mad at officials for not making a soft call. Man, play through it. These guys on offense, man, they get so much favor now on offense. It's ridiculous. Okay, ridiculous. I'm telling you, if I play, I can only speak for myself. I'm not going to speak for anybody else. If I played in today's game in my prime, I would average 28, 30. Easily. I was averaging 22. You don't think I can't get 8 more points? Because I used to get fouled all the time. Like, so my point is, on most of my shots, right? And then in my prime, I'm taking 18 to 20 shots a game.
Okay.
So 4 of those are going to be fouls. Well, I'm a career 86, to 90% free throw shooter. So I'm going to get those numbers. These guys get those numbers. They get those fouls, and they still complain.
Yeah.
They stop complaining, man.
So my thing is welcome back to Bronx. So my thing is when I was refereeing in Colorado, right? One of the things that they tried to teach me was, don't talk to the players. I don't know why that was a thing. As a player, I love to hear from the ref, like, hey, Salk, don't do that, or Book, don't do that, or whatever. Like, hey, next time you do it, I got to call it. You know what I mean? Because maybe it's not an egregious error or an egregious foul, so it's not worthy of calling it. But if I do it too many times, then he's got to call it to make sure that I'm not doing it.
Right.
Cool. I appreciate that heads up. It changes the way I play a little bit. The other thing is they would purposely tell you, you need to watch the defender no matter what, and you're looking for the call in the defense. Like that's literally what they would teach us in referee school. Like you could just watch the defender. And my thing is there, like for instance, the other night, Luka does this turnaround flip shot, falls on the ground. They call a foul in between two defenders that were standing straight up. Nobody fouled him. If they went to review it, they would have been like, "There's no call there."
Right.
But they called the foul because he flopped.
Yeah.
But if you don't see contact, and this is what they train you to do, if you don't see the contact, you swallow the whistle.
Yeah.
But they're afraid to do it for whatever reason sometimes. And that's what pisses the players off is that, like, now sometimes you're just making up shit. And that's.
Those very players that's complaining
are probably the same players.
Are the
on
ones
the
that flopping on the other damn
True.
end, man.
True.
That's the problem. Like the same ones, they're flopping on the other end. And so now don't be woe is me. Yeah, every time Luka gets fouled, he embellishes. And then every time he fouls, he's complaining.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on, man. You get to the line more than anybody.
Yeah.
I want to hear it, man. If you're doing the same thing to them as they're doing to you, and now you're mad because they called a foul.
Yeah.
Back when I played, they put a C on your chest. Captain. 2 players. Those were the only 2 that can go up to an official.
Yep.
Those were the only 2 guys that can go up to an official and have a elongated conversation. And I thought it was great. Every time I go to NBA meetings, I bring that up. So I'm blue in the face. Why don't you all go back to designating what players can talk to you? And they say, oh, we don't want to do that, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it could be a player association type thing. They might fight on it. Who knows? But I just truly believe that you designate 2 captains. Now, I'm pretty sure teams would probably designate, like Golden State, for example. They'd still designate Draymond as a captain. That's fine. But at least they don't have to put up with junk from Jordan Poole and Kevon Looney and all these other guys. It's just one guy or 2 guys they're talking to. They need to go back to that, man. Yeah. Because this game is getting too communicative during the course of the game about little stuff. You know, and I'm saying during telecast, dude, y'all already challenged one. You can't challenge another one. Know the damn rules. They doing this. Like, dude, he just challenged it to call the other 2 seconds ago. You can't do another one. I mean, it's just looking for an excuse. That's what I call it. Looking for an excuse because of something you didn't turn out right. And I'm not saying I wasn't guilty of that at times. I think every athlete is.
Sure.
But it prevails at a higher rate, man, in today's game. You remember Sean Murray, my boy. I'm going to call him out here. But Sean's my boy. Sean would take a jumper and say, it was off. And Sean had a tremendous career with the Suns. And I think eventually he should have an opportunity to get up in the rafters here.
Yes, 1,000,000%.
And definitely be considered for Hall of Fame every year. Okay, Sean? I said that. Want to make sure.
However, he's setting you up for failure right now is what he's doing.
But he knows it. He knows how I feel about him. But Sean, it would crack me up because everybody has an excuse mechanism when something goes wrong. And he's not the only one. I probably had one. I just don't remember what it was, but I had one. But Sean's was like so out there. Sean would shoot, and he missed the ball, goes short, or he's shooting air ball. And he look at his hands, and he blowed his hand like his hands was cold. Look, your hand's not cold. But everybody has an excuse mechanism, man.
For sure.
You have one.
Do I?
Yeah.
I don't know. I usually, if I lose, I just take the L. That's not true. I usually complain about it pretty good. So this is not the easiest of pivot points, but Greg Oden came out and talked about a great article in The Ringer. If you haven't checked it out, you should. Talked about his journey now as an assistant coach at Butler. But he talked about being labeled a bust, the injuries and the toll that it took on him, not only physically, but mentally, more importantly, suffering through depression, pill addiction, things of that sort. And Eddie, you wanted to bring this up, but real quick, we got a quote That's from Greg Oden, said, I just felt like a failure. I felt like let a lot of people down, letting Portland down, letting the whole entire staff and organization down. I felt like I let my family down and everyone who coached me and believed in me. And that's from Greg Oden. And one of the things that he talked about was just the depression part of this, right? Wanting to confine himself into dark spaces, to really get away from everybody, to isolate himself. And as somebody who has suffered from depression, there's a certain comfort that isolation gives you, that makes you feel like at least that's the one thing that you can control. And so I empathize with Greg and the things that he's been through. And I think it's unfair to label him a bust because the injury factor was very, very real for him, right? He wasn't somebody that was healthy and just, mis-scouted. Right. He was a tremendous athlete, a tremendous player. Did it in the Indiana high school scene, back-to-back high school Gatorade Players of the Year awards nationally. He got 25 and 15 in the national championship against Florida in a losing effort, but he was a phenomenal player. But then you see this, and it really makes you empathize with him.
Yeah, it does. I mean, everybody suffered depression. Some people walking around thinking they have not, you have. There's nothing wrong with you, there's something wrong with you. There's no perfect person. We all have suffered depression. And, fortunately for us, if we're here talking about it, then we were able to navigate it and not do anything that would harm ourselves. Because a lot of people out there, they will harm themselves. So I felt good about the fact that after all these years have gone by and what Greg Oden has gone through, that he's still able himself to tell us about it instead of somebody speaking for him because he just couldn't do anything to overcome it and he did something to harm himself. So I definitely applaud Greg Oden for fighting through it, as everyone should. I don't think anyone should take the shortcut out. It's unfortunate, and KD has a connection here. I remember when Greg Oden was like either going back number one, number two, and obviously, he and Kevin Durant were basically looked at as the two guys that they were going to go back and forth with. And I remember Nate McMillan was the coach at Portland, and he told me that Kevin Durant had the best workout he'd ever seen in his life. And he said he was just blown away by his workout. Greg Oden had a workout, and they had to stop it because he was so nervous that it almost looked like he couldn't play. That doesn't mean anything.
Sure.
Workouts doesn't mean anything, but that's the story that I got. And Portland still decided to take Greg Oden for the pressures, a lot of, because of his size. He was a man-child. The sky was the limit. KD had some negatives, right? They had found, they saw at the combine he couldn't lift, was it 125 pounds, and he was a thin frame, and they wondered if he could navigate the NBA circuit and all those things. But I just remember Nate telling me, he said, Kevin Durant had the best workout I've ever seen in my life. Said it was just ridiculous. And the pressures for Portland to draft him was just so high that they could not pass up Greg Oden. Greg Oden knew this. He knew. And so think about all the things that happened to him. It didn't work out in Portland. He struggled. Knee just bothered him, and that's the only reason he struggled, because he had a bad knee. And so now he's also hearing, you should have drafted Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
So that can take you to a place, man, like you start looking at family and family doubting you. It's just a really dark place that you can go to. And I feel so good that he is able to talk about it and to be able to help other players, because it's 400 plus players in the association of the NBA. And I could probably surmise a good percentage of them are suffering depression. Money does not make you happy, it makes you comfortable.
Yeah.
But money can put you into depression because so many people are pulling on you and grabbing at you, and you feel guilty that you're not helping them, and you know that you can't, and all that, because you got to look to your future. There's just so many things you got to worry about, and then you turn around, you got to go to practice, and the coach is on top of you expecting things to be at a certain level. You go play games, you might lose. All those things started to happen. Then you maybe start to build a family, and now you're worried about your kids.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so many things that can jump up on you that you got to learn how to navigate it. And it's life. It's not like athletes are different than normal people that's working 9 to 5s and they're out there struggling. But Greg Oden went through it.
It's interesting to see Greg Oden's path and his journey, and then you have kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. Somebody that's not injured, somebody that plays at a very, very high level in Ja Morant, but could be going through similar things as Greg Oden in terms of stress, anxiety, depression, things of that nature. And now you're looking at how he's dealing with it. And some people keep it inside, some people let it out, and they let it out in different forms. And I think that's honestly, I feel like it's a great thing that Ja's taken some time for himself to kind of talk to people, try to get his mind right as much as possible, and really get the tools, because that's what happens. You know, you go to therapy, you go to counseling, they give you tools that you can use to better manage yourself when you get into those situations, or you start feeling certain things that really pinpoint to why you're wanting to act out or reserve.
You just got to learn. It took me a while in my life. I come from nothing. And all of a sudden, you know, look, my first year in the NBA, I was making 65 plus, you know, and I was getting a little shoe deal at around 20. So here I am making $85,000, okay, and had zero in college. Only had a few pair of pants, didn't take any kind of enticements at all from the University of Illinois, because I learned from my brother that he did that, and I thought he failed, so I never did. And so when I'm making 85 grand, I felt like I was rich, but I wasn't. And you have people asking for things, and you want to help, and you want to do things, and all of a sudden you find yourself, like, I think after my 3rd or 4th check, I found myself like my bank account wasn't looking like it should. I'm like, no, I can't do this. And so you have to learn to start to say no. That's the hardest thing to do when you're saying no to people you love and you know you got more than them. And I think with Ja, he's just got to learn how to say no to his enablers. You know, he could have been the leader, but it doesn't matter what side you are on being enabled. Like, if you're the one that don't want to do something and they're pulling you into it, you're being enabled because you're just doing it because you want to hang with them. But if you're the leader, that means you're around guys that's enabling you because they're not actually telling you that you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
So that's what he has to learn to do. That's his first step, because based on what I viewed with him, just seeing his, you know, his social networking and all the people that hang around him, that's the issue. And the first person he's got to start with is his dad. He's got to look his dad in the eye and say, hey, Dad, I want you to be my dad, not my friend. Not my friend. I'm not my son's friend. I'm his dad. I don't hang out with him. I don't go to no clubs with him. I don't do anything, that stuff with him. No, that's your thing. I'm your dad. I'm observing what you're doing. And I think that's what Ja Morant has to do first and then go forward. And I think he'll be better.
Wow. Well, I mean, that's a great perspective. It's something that obviously a lot of us are not privy to, because a lot of us ain't making that kind of money, you know, like you were, especially at the age of 22, 23.
Yeah, 22 years old. You know, back in the, you know, 80s, that, you know, people might say 85,000. 85,000 was probably about 300-400.
Yeah.
You know?
Which is nice, which is a nice little check.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a terrific perspective. And like I said, you know, like one of the things that we're not going to shy away from on this show is just talking about these kind of difficult topics. And I think that Greg Oden, being an assistant coach, that's the thing, right? At the end of the day, it always comes back to ball. It's the one place where athletes feel like that they have the most control, and it's really therapeutic to some degree, right? That's why you know we haven't seen Ja act out on the court. Right. You know, he hasn't been crazy. He hasn't been getting teed up like left and right. He hasn't been acting out or anything like that, because that's his happy place. Yeah. At least from my perspective. Same thing with Greg Oden. And when you read that article, he says it always came back to basketball. And he's got a big smile on his face when he walks into Finkel Fieldhouse up in Indiana, and he's writing down notes for a practice that's about to happen because it's his happy place. And I just to
He's
this day
7'3" walking around. People gonna always say, "You play basketball?"
always.
Like I'm 63 years old. Lady, like, do you play basketball? Lady, I'm 63.
Well, it doesn't matter though, because they could tell.
Did you play or do you play?
Well, that's a different story.
Okay,
Yeah,
I know I
sure.
still look young. I get it.
You could probably still shoot though.
I can do a lot of stuff on the court. I just won't.
What's like if we went out to the court right now?
I can do everything.
Can you still
I
dunk?
have no. I
You
have.
still dunk?
I have no aches and pains.
Can you
I
still
didn't
dunk?
dunk when I played.
But you could
I could. Yeah, if I wanted to.
right now.
Without a doubt, I could.
Really?
If I wanted to, yes, but I'm not.
I want you to. Though.
No, dude, I'm not.
Come on, man.
Man, I am
wanna see
not.
this.
I can still run fast. I could still play,
And
but
you-
after I played, they probably gonna have to bring the paramedics in to wheel me up out of there, man.
Eddie, you know how many clicks we would get if we just showed a clip of you dunking right now at the age of 63?
Dr. J still does it every birthday. I'm not doing it, and here's the only reason why. I used to be, and people don't believe this, but it's true. I could never be an A racquetball player, but I was a high B+ racquetball player.
Okay.
And that's how I stayed in shape. I used to go up and down when I lived in California. I'd go up and down California playing tournaments and stuff during the off season. And I had a couple of guys that I played with that we played 3.5 hours, best of 7. And it'll take that long. Playing
Racquetball
I'd
tournaments?
be drenched. Yeah.
This
and
guy. It
that
blows my mind that he played a racquetball.
that was my game, man.
Okay.
You talk to anybody that knew me, that was my game. And think about racquetball is similar to what? Basketball.
Yeah, basketball, back and forth.
All
side to side.
basketball
Yep.
movements.
Mhm.
And so when I retired, I gave up racquetball. Because a doctor told me, he said, Eddie, you played till you're 40 years old. You're blessed. But I'm going to tell you that Achilles is the first thing to go.
Mm.
And when he told me that, I stopped playing racquetball, and I just said, you know what? I stopped going to the YMCA playing basketball. I used to go to Scottsdale Y when I first retired.
Mhm.
I'd go up there, and guys be, thinking I'm Eddie Johnson when I played, being physical with me, and I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
So I retired twice, man.
What about have you tried pickleball?
That's my next thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
let's do
I'm gonna
it.
take lessons. I'm going to take lessons
'Cause
first. I'm not going to jump out there. I'm going to take lessons.
I just want you to know, Eddie. We had a pickleball outing about 6 months ago? Yeah. And I am the undisputed champion of pickleball in this building.
Now I definitely going to get my lessons.
Saul Bookman, no.
I am.
Max got what did Max get? Like
He got second place.
I thought Max got first. With
No,
his one
I
arm.
was the
Al,
champion.
Al,
I got the
don't-
gold
Al,
medal to prove
Al,
it.
don't worry about it.
Let's go.
It's not going to
Let's
last.
go.
It's not going to last.
Listen,
Trust
listen.
me. It's
Golf
not gonna
course, pickleball. It don't matter. I'm winning. I don't care.
No, you won you lost in the game show yesterday.
Yeah, whatever. That don't matter. I'm talking about
last. You're not going to
SEJ.
beat me in golf. My last 3 rounds, 78, 79, 80. You're not going to beat me.
Okay. All right. We'll see. That's it for today. We appreciate you all joining another episode of Outside Shots. Do we have the music going right now? I can't hear it. I can't hear it. Sometimes I'm trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? But it's a beautiful day out there. Go enjoy yourself. It's supposed to be 72
beautiful.
degrees out in the valley.
Beautiful.
Just enjoy it. Remember, you can join my guy on
NBA Today show today, 2 o'clock to 5. All right.
There we go.
Sirius XM, NBA radio. Next week, obviously with the time change, we go to 1 to 4. All right.
You can follow him on Twitter at JumpShot8. You can follow myself on Twitter as well at Saul_Bookman. And follow PHNX Suns because that's where we're all at. We'll see you next time. Peace.